So what's up guys, it's Ash here and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video guys, I've got some custom tactics and player instructions for one of the best attacking formations in FIFA 23, this being the 4-1-2-1-2 second variation or narrow version. It's team of the season, so if you guys need any coins, make sure you check out MMOXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're fast, cheap and reliable, and if you use my code Rema, you can get yourself a nice 5% discount. Okay guys, so starting off with the custom tactics. For the defensive style, I like to have this on balance. Now, a lot of you that watch my videos will understand that I have this on many formations, and the reason for this is it gives you the greatest control over your defense, where when you need to apply pressure, you're able to do so, and then when you want to drop off and be a little bit more passive, you're also able to do that. So it does give you the very much needed control and balance in your defense. Now, moving on to the defensive width, guys, I like to have this on 40. This is so we can primarily defend in a narrow and compact shape, which will stop those attacks through the middle. The reason we don't lower the width anymore though is because we don't want it to be too narrow in defense to the point where we cannot reach out to the wings when an opponent is trying a wider attack. So it's still important to retain some natural width to the team. Now, moving on to the depth, guys, I'm currently using this on 50. This is bang in the middle. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I don't want a super low depth to the point where I'm always getting pinned back, and I don't want a super high depth either to the point where I'm just going to constantly get through balled. So honestly, at the moment, I'm kind of just going bang in the middle, so we've got like a neither too deep or too high defensive line. Now, moving on to build-up play, guys, this one may be a little controversial. You might want to change it, but at the moment with this formation, I'm really enjoying fast build-up. This is because the 4-1-2-1-2 often has like many little diamonds you can pass between because that's the shape that the formation's set up in. So I like fast build-up because you can get off a lot of quick passes and really build up the play quickly. Not always the best thing to use though, so you might want to use balance, but honestly, it's just been a lot of fun using fast build-up at the moment. Now, moving on to chance creation, guys, I suggest using direct passing. This is because it's the most meta option you can use. Basically, your attacking players will bunch up against the defenders, so you can do the really overpowered 1v1 isolation plays. This isn't possible with any of the tactics, so I very much do suggest using direct passing. You also get the extra pass option in the box because of the movements your players make, which is super beneficial. Now, moving on to the attacking width, guys, I like to have this on 45. We don't want to have the width too low, otherwise it feels like your players are sat on top of each other and like it's just too narrow even for a narrow formation, and you don't want to have like a super high width either, otherwise you might as well just use the wide variation. So we kind of just go for something in between where it's neither too narrow or too wide. Now, moving on to players in box, I'm currently using this on 6. This is so we can get some players into the box to create those chances, but we don't overcommit the entire team to the point where we get counter-attacked. As for corners and free kicks, I have these both on 1 because there is a corner kick routine that I use which requires both of these to be on 1. Link to that in the top right hand corner of the screen. Now, moving on to the plays you want to use, guys, in the two striker positions, I like to go for a balance between the two. So in the left striker position, I like to go for a more creative player, and then in the right striker position, I like to go for a more poacher style player, somebody that's going to finish off the chances. So I like to have like this creator finisher dynamic, as I feel like you get a lot more out of the team this way. If you use two like poacher finisher strikers, it's very one-dimensional and you're forced into just playing like through balls all the time, which is not always the best option. So I like to implement a more creative striker in with a more finisher poacher striker. Now, moving on to the cam, I like to go for a nice technical play. You're going to want somebody with really good agility, decent dribbling ability. You're going to want somebody that can pass, shoot, basically do a bit of everything in attack. You're not going to want to use like a slow clunky player or somebody that cannot create any chances, otherwise you might struggle because the cam is the main playmaker in this team. Now, moving on to the right centre mid, I suggest going for a more box to box style player. This is somebody that's going to attack and defend, so you're going to want somebody with a high work rate if you can get it, as you get the maximum contribution in both attack and defense. But just ensure that this player is nice and well rounded on their card so they can do a bit of everything. Now, moving on to the CDM, I suggest using a more defensive player. This is somebody that's going to stay back, add defensive security and really shore up your defense. So you're going to want somebody with a medium high work rate if you can get it, so you get the maximum contributions in defense and they're not too bothered about going forward. Moving on to the left centre mid, I suggest using an actual attacker here. This is because they're not actually going to have to play as a centre mid in this team. That'll make more sense when we come to the player instructions, but you can get away with using an actual attacker here. So you could use like an Mbappe, a Neymar, an Alawara, and just a really good attacking player. I'm using Saka, who's obviously very good in attack, but he's also got the added bonus of having decent defensive stats too. So defensive stats in this position are not a necessity, but obviously it's an added bonus if you can get somebody with good defending. Now moving on to the fullbacks, I like to go for a little bit of a balance between the two. I've got Roberto Carlos, who really excels in his attacking game. This is somebody that's going to contribute going forward for us and really add attacking support. Then in the right back position, I've just got somebody that's going to stay back and, you know, add security to the defense. I kind of just like to go for that dynamic between fullbacks. As for the centre backs and the goalkeeper, these just need to be those meta players. These are players that are fast, strong, and a medium high work rate if you can get it. Now moving on to the player instructions, guys, on the left striker and the right striker, I have them both on stay central and mixed attack. We have them on stay central because it's important that they do stay in the central areas. We don't want the strikers drifting out too wide, otherwise they're not going to be doing their job. So we do want them to stay central so we do get the most use out of them. I also have them both on mixed attack because I feel like you get a lot more out of the players this way. If you put them on getting behind, they're restricted to always making the same one-dimensional runs where you just have to through ball to this player. If you have them on mixed attack, they get a lot more involved in the build-up and you just get more out of the players this way. So I do very much suggest mixed attack. That being said, if you want to put one of your players on getting behind or something, that's also fine, but I do like mixed attack personally. Now moving on to the cam, I have him on comeback on defense. Now the reason we do this is because it makes the team defend in a 4-4-2. Why do we want to make this defend in a 4-4-2? Well, it's pretty self-explanatory, to be honest. If you look at the team, you'll see that this is a very narrow formation. Now this is good when we're going forward, but if we lose the ball, you can see there's so much space on both the wings, so all an opponent really would have to do is run down the wings and they're basically in. So you want to have this in a 4-4-2 by putting the cam on comeback on defense, so you're able to defend a lot easier because you're going to have more coverage of the wider areas because of the four midfielders. So the 4-4-2 is just a much better defensive shape. Now moving on to the right centre mid, the more box-to-box style player, we have him on default settings and cover centre. We have him on default settings because he's a box-to-box player. We kind of want him to have a free roll, so we kind of just let him do his own thing. The only important thing is that we have him on cover centre, so he does defend as one of the centre mids in the 4-4-2. Now moving on to the CDM, we have him on stay back while attacking, cut passing lanes and cover centre. We have him on stay back because he's defensive, we don't want him flying forward. Cut passing lanes means he's always going to be looking to break up the play and annoy your opponent, which is super good. And then we have him on cover centre, so he does defend as one of the centre mids in the 4-4-2. Now moving on to the left centre mid where we use an actual attacker, we have him on get forward, get into the box cross and cover wing. Get forward means he's going to go forward because he's an attacking player. Get into the box across means he's not going to hesitate to get into the penalty area, which is also good because if we have him on balanced crossing runs, he's going to be a bit too scared to get into the box sometimes, which is not ideal. So get into the box cross will fix that issue. And then we have him on cover wing, so he does defend as a left mid in the 4-4-2 shape. So the back four is going to be the same when we don't have the ball, and then left mid will be Saka for me, left centre mid will be Casemiro, right centre mid Pogba, and right mid Jairzinho. That is kind of how this works. Now moving on to the left back, I have him on balanced attack and overlap. This is my more attacking fullback, so we have him on balanced attack and overlap, so he's always looking to join the attack for us and add extra width with the overlapping runs. This is important because with a narrow formation, it's sometimes important to implement a wider option because it just helps a lot basically. Sometimes narrow is too predictable, so sometimes you just need a wider option to help you out. Now for the right back, I have him on stay back while attacking and overlap. We have him on stay back, so we've always at least got 3 at the back, and then we have him on the overlap run type because in case I do trigger a run forward with him with L1, he's going to make the overlapping runs to add extra width. As for the centre backs and the keeper, these are on default settings and I do not touch them. But yeah guys, these are my custom tactics and player instructions for the 4-1-2-1-2. If you have enjoyed or found it useful, please be sure to drop this a thumbs up, sub to the channel if you are new, and don't forget to turn on notifications. And with all that aside guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.